Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
So earlier today, my brother and I watched a video about a magician, Marco Tempest, who the video was a TED Talk. It was titled "The Magic of Truth and Lies." The basic premise of the video was that in order to find the magic in life, that you have to believe in some level of the deception around you. So for example, part of the video, the screen showed a heart. And then when he zooms in on the heart, there's lots of dollar signs, like atoms making the heart up. So the basic idea is that the love is not real, and that the reality is it's a connection for money, but you have to allow yourself to believe in love in order to find the magic of romance. That was the basic premise of the video, and we're here to discuss the question, if you allow yourself to believe in deception, is that a healthy way of looking at the world? And also, can you find the magic of life without allowing yourself to believe in deception? Right off the bat, my major qualm with the premise of the video is mostly that as human beings, one of the things that separates us most identifiably from animals is that we have an intellect and an ability to ascertain and search for truth and have some idea of what truth is. That's why we have science, that's why we have philosophy, and throughout human history you see people trying to find the truth more and more accurately. That's why we have philosophers and that's why we have scientists. So right off the bat, and those people would definitely argue that the beauty and magic in life doesn't come from deceiving yourself. The beauty and magic in life comes from finding the truth. So the question in regard to the love that he was discussing would be, could you find love without any deception, like actual love? And so really, Marco Tempest has a very, I don't know if this is actual view, but this is what came off of the premise of the video. He has a very negative way at looking at the world. He sees everything as deception, and then the stuff that we don't let ourselves believe would be, the implication would be that it would be negative, and the stuff that we do allow ourselves to believe can be magical, but there's no such thing as just pure, unadulterated good. Do you have any thoughts on the question? Let me repeat it. Should we allow ourselves to believe in deception?
I think deception can be, good for you to a certain degree, as far as magicians and magic goes. If you don't allow yourself to sort of enter into that stage that you believe that this could be real, it becomes more enjoyable if you allow yourself to actually be deceived.
So kind of like a movie, right?
Yeah.
Or a TV show. I watch House of Cards. The show, my friends and I recently were discussing how the show is really unrealistic. How would nobody see that that's what Frank Underwood is doing or something like that? But you have to suspend your disbelief in order to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're aware that you're suspending your disbelief, correct?
Yeah.
In order to live an entire life married to somebody who doesn't actually love you, and just to believe that they do, and to find the magic of romance in that, wouldn't that basically be fooling yourself? There's a distinction between knowingly suspending disbelief and actually deceiving yourself, correct?
Yeah.
And I might be misinterpreting him, and I don't think the video was a serious philosophical piece, but that's basically what you get from a deeper analysis of the video, especially given the imagery he uses, for example, like the love and the dollar signs. So if there is a difference between knowingly suspending disbelief and deceiving yourself, then that draws a very, I forget what I was going to say. If there is a difference between suspending disbelief and fooling yourself into believing something that is not true, which we both agree that there is, correct?
Yeah.
Then it would be really important to define when you're doing which one, which of course would kind of negate the premise anyway, because if you knew you were fooling yourself, you would just be suspending disbelief.
Yeah.
So there's actually the only authentic and realistic way that you could engage in that kind of behavior is if you knowingly allow yourself to believe something it's not actual belief, but it's kind of like you stop resisting the untruthfulness of a situation. So, for example, if your spouse, if you know that they only love you for the money, you knowingly just stop caring about that. You don't spend the mental energy to actually focus on that, and so you can go through life acting and semi kind of believing that they know, or that you know that they love them, but in reality you know that they don't.
Yeah.
Now, that on the flip side, you would actually believe that they loved you if you were deceiving yourself into allowing and into completely ignoring reality, which is a lot more dangerous, because then you'll make decisions based on your now systemic belief that this thing is the way you want to see it, which is not reality. So imagine if bankers or businessmen went into life trying to make decisions based on that, everyone would go bankrupt. So right off the bat, you can see practically and for a healthy lifestyle, you really need to acknowledge what the truth of a situation is. Yeah. But going back to movies and magic and TV, there definitely is a place for the suspension of disbelief. So, for example, Joe, you're interested in magic and sleight of hand and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, I've seen magicians and stuff. So, would you say that movies, TV shows, and if you were constantly analyzing them for their flaws, wouldn't they become a lot less enjoyable?
Yeah, like if you go into, I guess, a magic show trying to figure out how everything is done, you're gonna miss all the magical, everything that's happening, and all the cool effects that he's doing, just because you're focused on trying to figure out how it's done, not just trying to enjoy yourself and just kind of watching it and then try figure it out later. So if you you just kind of have to enter into the mood of just wanting to be amazed.
Yeah, it's kind of like summer blockbusters, Tarantino films or something like that, where you just let yourself sit back and enjoy the absurdity of the situation.
Yeah, because obviously magic isn't real, but it'll seem more real if you actually just believe that to a certain extent that maybe this could happen, or not trying to make not trying to figure out, is this just not trying to make everything I guess black and white, so real and not real or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just
well, the interesting thing to note here is that all of the things we've been talking about where it is acceptable to suspend disbelief are all things that can be categorized as entertainment. So none of them, can you think of one instance where you would or should suspend your disbelief in an area that is not entertainment? So something that is practical to life, or work, or something like your belief, or participating in politics, or going on vacation, or something like that. Anytime when you actually have to make decisions, it would never be the right decision to suspend your disbelief, correct?
Yeah, I just don't really understand the question.
So basically, we talked about magic, we talked about TV shows, we talked about movies, where you have to suspend your disbelief to get your money's worth of enjoyment out of those. Okay? Yeah. All three of those things are entertainment, correct?
Yeah.
Can you think of an instance where suspending your disbelief outside of the realm of entertainment would be the healthy option or the right way to go?
Yeah, I guess, so you're saying when would it be healthy to not just look at reality?
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah. Outside of entertainment.
In a relationship, trying to see if someone's actually loves you or loves your money, or...
Yeah, but that would, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be an instance where you don't want to suspend your disbelief, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what we're saying is that you really cannot, in real life, outside of the entertainment industry, suspend your disbelief, because any decisions you make under the suspension of your disbelief are going to be flawed, not true, and probably have negative consequences, more than likely. It seems to me then that the video has a very limited scope or window that where it is practical. So basically entertainment. And the problem then I take with the video is that a lot of the examples they were giving were real life practical examples. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the other issue is that he might have just been making an observation. So saying like there are lots of relationships where people believe that they're loved, but it's really just about money.
Yeah.
And so those people still have the magic of love, even though it's not true. He wasn't criticizing or making an argument, just an observation. So he wasn't saying that the only way to find magic is to deceive yourself. He was just saying lots of people do it that way. So that then begs the question, is it better to deceive yourself to find magic, or is it better to actually try to find the truth? So this is, and I think we all know the answer to this question, but I'll just pose it to you. So going back to the love example, would it be better to believe the person you're married to loves you, even though they don't really, because you've deceived yourself into believing that? Or would it be better to find somebody who actually loves you?
Well, it would obviously be better to find someone that actually loves you. Like, there's the right time, I guess it's like the right time and place when you should let yourself be deceived, and then there's a time and place for you to look at reality and say, no, this is not real.
Mm-hmm. But it's like 5 to 95%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like only entertainment. That's the only time that's healthy. And that's also, the video is very short. I think it's 5 minutes and 17 seconds-ish long. So he doesn't really have time to make an argument. The more I think about it, the more I think it's more of an observation. But at the same time, he never points out in the video that these tendencies could be unhealthy. And this isn't really it's not meant to be a critique of the video. Really, the video was just a premise upon which we can discuss a larger topic. So, is it healthy or not for you to deceive yourself? And I know it might have come across the other way, but that's not the intended purpose. Especially, and that's why I keep on saying that I don't think it was really meant to be an argument. So then, the next question that comes to mind is, then would you want to help people that have deceived themselves into believing things that are not true and are perfectly happy living under that deception? Is it better for you to try to encourage them to find the truth, or is it better to let them just go on under their own deception?
So you're saying if you see someone that's being...
Yeah. So say my friend is married, and I know his wife only loves him for the money, but he doesn't know that. He's deceived himself into believing that she actually loves him, and I know that's not true. Now, what should I do? Should I try to inform him of the truth or help him to find the truth, or should I allow him to revel in his deception?
I would say, well, if you're gonna be a brutally honest friend to him, I would just tell him.
I am a pretty brutally honest person in general, but like, what is the better?
If you could try to tactfully find a way for him to like find out himself.
Would you say it's situational? So like depending on the friend and his circumstances?
Yeah. So if you're like, I guess if you're not like if you like only just like, because if he like, there's a chance he wouldn't believe you, so he would just think maybe you're trying to steal his wife or whatever.
Yeah.
And that could go the wrong way. So I'd say it'd probably, if you want to just try your luck with that, like if you're really, really good friends and you know that you would never do anything like that, it could be the right move. But I would say you'd probably want him to just try to like see if you could find a way for him to find out by himself.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, but partially because like one of my big things is like wanting to find the truth in the situation, but at the same time, his relationship is something personal to him. It's not really my business to get involved, which means that there is a really fine line between in this situation having him find out what the truth is and him being happy under the deception. Like it's definitely, I would say, better for him to find the truth, but is it my role to get actively involved? And I think that's where you hit the nail on the head, where you said it's best to try to find a way to let him come to the conclusion himself instead of me telling him.
Yeah.
So you can kind of help influence them in that direction, but it almost needs to be their choice to overcome that dishonesty, because a lot of the time I would say that deception is self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Out of like fear or insecurity or something like that. So it is their prerogative to overcome that. And I also think that that's important because they'll be much more likely to remain under that belief. If they're the one who comes to that estimation, that truth, then they'll be much more likely to abide by what that truth that they've come to.
Yeah.
Just as a throw-in at the end, I don't know exactly how long we've been talking, but I should probably check the camera real quick. We have 10 minutes left. Okay, so just as a throw-in at the end, there are some much more philosophical questions. This has kind of more been banter. It hasn't really been thought out or reasoned out beforehand or anything like that. It's been kind of off the lip. So, but there are a couple questions that philosophers have been trying to address for a long time. The first is, what is it for a claim to be true? So basically, what is it for something to be true? So you say something, is it true? What makes that true? And then the second question is, how do we know that that thing is true? And part of me thinks that both these questions can be answered at the same time. But addressing the first one, what is it for a claim to be true is, I mean, it's a question that's baffled people for a long time. A lot of people turn towards empiricism. So that which can be observed is basically what we would say is true. There would be, the issue is that a lot of the time what we observe is not necessarily true. It might be I should stop saying it might be true in that situation. So there are not necessarily situational ethics, but situations where this thing might be true here, but it's not true in a larger view of the world or something like that. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but it seems that truth shouldn't be subject to an individual. I believe this is the Aristotelian view, but I might be wrong. It's definitely the natural law view of the Catholic Church, that the benefit of society and the reason why we have society is that with more people to share ideas between, there is a better likelihood that we will find truth. So basically, if I say this, then there's 5 other people that are going to think about what I just said and either counter me or affirm through some other argument the reasoning I just provided. So you're more likely to find the truth in society, but that doesn't necessarily answer what the truth is. Is it an accurate perception of the realities that affect us? Because I mean, those things could change. I'm not entirely sure how. This is just throwing out a random thought that just came to me. But if you have, most scientists agree with the theory of relativity at this point. So if you have time moving at different speeds for different people at the same time, like that would definitely somehow, off the top of my head, probably affect different situations and the proper response to different situations, or like at least in, I'm getting way off topic here, so I'm actually going to hold that one. And that's probably something that could be discussed for an entirely different video. But, so going back, so what is it for a claim to be true? Do you have any opinion on that?
No. I don't.
Like, I would say the camera's right there pointing at us, and it's running. And you would say that's true, correct? Yeah, so, I mean, that would be the benefit of society, I guess. You have peer review, as they call it in the scientific community, but that doesn't really get to the essence of what truth is. An accurate observation is the best definition I think people have really come up with, or at least the most practical one. So I observe that, other people can confirm it, so as far as we know, it is the most accurate observation. But then you would have Plato or whoever saying, well, you might be in a cave. The reference being to your whole reality, or like, for example, do you know what the Matrix is? Have you watched the Matrix?
I think I've seen some of it.
So basically, he's plugged into a computer. So all of his reality isn't actually true. And so there's no way to prove that that's not the case. So the best we can come up with basically right now is that for a claim to be true, it has to be substantiated enough that other observers can witness the same effect. Two, how do we know if a claim is true? We kind of already answered that question. The best methodology we have is peer review. So society, basically, that's one of the biggest values of society, really, is that you have so many different points of view and so many different rationale, so many different backgrounds that you'll be more likely to come to an average of truth by way of society. There's always the question, if there's one conscious being, is there anything such as morality or anything else like that? Or is it by nature, by definition, require a multitude or at least two conscious beings in order for there to be things like truth or morality? Truth, I still think, would be objective, because I think we have to say, well, there's no way to find out objectively, because I don't even want to get into the metaphysics of how that would work, but there has to be an inherently true nature to things. Like, for example, I think one statement that we can all agree is true is that something exists. If something did not exist, none of this would be here. I wouldn't be here, the camera wouldn't be here. That's regardless of a Matrix-like scenario or something like that. Like, something would have to be, or this thought process wouldn't be here. So that is at least one statement that I think everybody can agree is universally true. But in regard to objectively what truth is, I mean, I could talk to Dad. My father has a background in philosophy, so I'm sure he could give a perspective on this. A lot of people would disagree with him. That's one of the problems with philosophy, is that nobody's ever created a philosophy that has consensus among everyone. That's why there are continuously new ones popping up all the time. Do you have any final thoughts on this? This is really two different videos.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything to add.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I do have one thing.
Okay.
So, in the comments below, tell us whether you'd rather go through life always being deceived to see the good, or always seeing the reality and never being deceived, always seeing what's actually real. So. And
I apologize if this video is rambling. We didn't collect our thoughts on this at all. This is all completely offhand. There wasn't a philosophical context going in. I'm basically making it up as we go. If we discuss truth or something like that's that complicated in the future, there will definitely be background information, but this is more of a conversation and spewing out of ideas than anything else, which is why there's the comment section right there for anybody who watches this video to get involved in such a discussion and to recommend what we talk about in the future, either in a prepared basis or just off the hand discussion. There will be for anybody who sees this, we'll be posting more videos in a couple of days. I have a couple things I want to do. 9-year-old philosophy, so with my 9-year-old brother, he's upstairs with a friend right now, but I think an interesting idea is to have him, is to address philosophical topics with him. Obviously, I'll be prepared for those, but he won't be. And since he's pretty objective, given that he's a 9-year-old kid who hasn't really been influenced by higher level ideas to that large of an extent yet, to see what kind of conclusions he comes to based on our discussions. And so that's something that I'm working on and upcoming. We'll obviously have different conversations with different people in my family. I'll probably have my dad on to talk about things on a more professional level, and we might even have guests. So there's some people I'm talking to that are already active in the YouTube world, and also my friends. So that's all for today.
Well, I'd like to say
one more thing.
So this channel, we're just talking about literally pretty much anything, right?
Ideas mostly. It would be something of substance.
Yeah. You don't you guys. It doesn't just have to be about science and stuff like that. It can be it's a variety.
It has to be something of substance though, and we'll be posting a lot because these videos don't take that much to edit, and they're basically conversations, and they're fun to have. And
every other day,
I have these every day anyway, so why not post them online? Yeah. All right, thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.